Narcellus, as you ran up here to help protect your brother, the cloaker, seeing you are probably a much smaller and easier target, decides to take a bite for you. 8 piercing damage from that bite, as it sinks its teeth into your shoulder, and as it does so, its large wings wrap around you as it attaches to you.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, baby.
I'm tired.
Welcome home, Narcellus.
Welcome home. No.
Alright, as it attaches itself to Narcellus, the next thing you all hear as it opens its mouth and lets out this deep yawning groan that starts to chill you all to the bone, and I will need everyone to please make me a wisdom saving throw other than Narcellus.
Wisdom.
Not a wisdom. I'm not good at that one.
Everyone except Yubari and Taffy, you are now frightened of the cloaker. Which means you have disadvantage on any ability checks and attack rolls while it's within your line of sight. And you also cannot move closer to it.
Oh. Neat.
So, yeah. So, unfortunately, you can't move any closer to this thing until the end of its next turn. Alright, Narcellus. And I've got Tove coming up next. So, Narcellus, you currently have a cloaker attached to your face. So really the only thing you can do at this point is give me a strength check to try and rip it off of you.
Okay.
Oh.
Oh my god.
Oh.
Ooh.
This is great.
Holy hell.
Poor Narcellus, man.
Having a time.
Yeah.
This is what you get for sacrificing yourself for your brother.
Listen, he couldn't do it the first time, he'll do it the second time.
Oof. Okay.
So this thing is going to spend some of its movement. It actually releases Narcellus. And as it does so, you all see he is still lying on the floor. You can't really tell if he's moving or not at this point. And it's gonna take a bite for Resh. Resh is gonna take 10 points of damage there. So he is going to cast Fear.
Oh.
Yeah. To this cloaker.
See how you like it.
Exactly. So yeah, it is afraid of him now. Fantastic. As Narcellus's body lays here on the floor, you all see that he is not moving. He is very, very still. All of a sudden, however, you all can hear this bone-sickening crack emanate from his body as his body seems to lurch off the floor.
Oh, no!
And you see slowly as bones crack and pop and things move and twist and contort on his body unlike anything they should. He rises up, sitting up from the waist. His eyes are still closed. And as they open, the purple in his eyes is glowing, kind of casting a light over his face. As he, with very robotic and stiff movements, pushes himself up onto his feet. And this wicked, toothy grin spreads across his face as he withdraws each of his sabers from his side into each hand. And you all hear this very feminine giggle laughter come out of
God.
him.
Oh god.
As he cackles. And rather than facing off against this cloaker standing in front of him, He turns back to Toe.
The toe. Uh-oh.
His purple
Oh,
eyes
God.
focus on her. And the voice that comes out of him is not his own. You can tell right away it is a female's voice that you have not heard before. And Narcellus looks at you, Tove, and says in this voice, "After all those awful things you said to me, Tove Bauer, I think it's only right that I repay that favor."
Oh god.
Oh god.
Oh god.
As
Oops.
Marcellus lunges forward with his sabers in hand, Tove, and he is going to slash at you with both of them.
Oh my
Uh,
god.
Oh boy, how do I even do this? This is gonna be fun.
Oh,
It's just
jeez.
fine.
Trying to find one that I can use.
Oh no. He might be fine, but we're about to not be.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
It's really nice knowing you guys.
It's really nice to know you guys.
Yeah, those are just both going to hit. I am so sorry.
Oh,
Oh god.
Oh,
Ow.
yay!
Oh, yay.
Shit.
Shit.
Tove, you take 38 points of damage.
holy.
Oh,
Oh.
well, Tove is down.
Oh.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
Sorry,
that-
guys.
Tove isn't dead. Or
No,
she's down
Tove,
anyway.
you're not dead. So what's going to happen now is that's going to be Nershalis' turn. What's going to happen now is you are going to make a death save.
Okay, so I just do the little death save.
Yes. So go ahead and roll that for me. 6.
So that's a fail. You only
That's a
you
failure.
you get 2 more.
Yeah, it's good. That's fine. Just
Yeah.
can't roll in that
I'm
one.
sweating.
So he's gonna move about right. I don't know where I can move to. Wherever you need me to move to do a hide.
Let's say like right.
Okay, and I can still shoot it from here.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
thank God.
buddy.
Thank God.
the crit. The crit.
Heck yeah, alright. Do it one more time.
God,
What even is that?
you
27. Alright,
please
Taffy,
do not.
how would you like to do this, Taffy?
So, dang. Well, I wasn't expecting that. So he goes and he shoots this thing. He, all right. So he runs behind the rocks and he hides and he waits for his perfect opportunity. As this thing, hisses and moves around and he gets his ideas. He sees his opening. So his eyes widen, his blue glowing cat eyes aim in, and he shoots the first one right into its tail, which causes it to scream in pain. And as it's screaming, he quickly pulls out another arrow and fires right into its mouth, right through the head.
However, you guys aren't quite out of combat yet.
Yeah.
Even as you
Yeah.
spell this cloaker, it seems Narcellus has not snapped out of whatever has come over him. As he kind of looms over Tove at the moment. With the cloaker dead, Resh is going to go up to Narcellus and attempt to grab him to basically keep him from attacking Tove again. Narcellus, as Resh comes up behind you, He grabs for your arms, but you break free as you kind of spin around towards him, cackling this very female laughter, as all you say is, "Don't stop me, Fresh. That's a bad idea." So Renarian is going to run over here to Tove's side as he's shouts at Narcellus, "What are you doing?" And he's going to reach out for Tove. And what's the spell? He is going to cast Cure Wounds on Tove. This modifier. Oh yay! Tove, you get 13 hit points!
Oh, thank God.
And you're no longer dying.
You're no longer
Saved from the
dying.
brink of death.
Yeah.
Narcellus is being possessed. I don't know how to describe it, but there is this giant looming thing behind him. I used detect magic. It looks like a giant ass spider. I'm gonna. Oof. Okay, it's not Narcellus. That is the bottom line. It is not Narcellus. All right.
And as you say that, Yubari, Rush's eyes go wide as he says to the rest of the party, "It's Lolth."
Oh god.
I wasn't prepared to stop a god today.
And you just hear that female's voice again give a very high-pitched call. Alright, so Narcellus, as you have your eyes kind of fixed on Tove and Ari before you, both of your sabers being held high as you prepare to strike, you stop yourself. And you all can kind of see this weird look come over his face, like confusion and uncertainty as he blinks rapidly. And Yubari, you can see as I think your detect magic kind of lingers for a minute, doesn't it? Yeah, okay, 10 minutes. You can see the shadow of this spider fades away as the purple aura surrounding his body also ebbs. And Narcellus, lowers his sabers, and you look around at everyone in confusion as you aren't quite sure of what happened, Narcellus. At this moment, the last thing you remember was your world going dark as the cloaker grabbed your face. And you're standing here now before Ari, who is terribly wounded, Tove, who's still on the floor, and Resh and Arca close behind you.
So, Narcellus is going to. You see his eyes blink again and again, very rapidly, fluttering open and closed, and he'll look around at everybody, at the bleeding Ari and Tove, and kind of glance behind him, and he notices immediately that everybody is looking at him like this, with this horrified look on their faces, and he'll look at the two sabers in his hands, which are coated in blood. And a few seconds later, he realizes, and he looks at his hand, and you hear this awful metallic clanging noise as the blade and the hilt of both of his swords drop. And he brings both of his hands up, over his lips, not pressing down, but just caging his face. And he can smell and kind of taste the blood that's there. And he says, "I'm so sorry."
Oh.
And now, at this point, you all are now out of combat.
Okay.
I think Tove is just sort of obviously she just kind of was not in a good place, and she's still sort of like on the ground. And she's just sort of like staring up at Narcellus with like her eyes are just like wide. And she can't really say anything yet. She's just sort of like grasping onto like Ari, from where he'd like grabbed her before to like pull her away to heal her.
And Ari is, kneeling next to Tove, kind of like half leaning in front of her to kind of put himself, having been putting himself between Narcellus and Tove. And as Narcellus drops his sabers and kind of comes to, Ari, has this look of concern come over his face as he says, Narcellus, you're right.
Um,
It was
I don't know. And he'll look down again, kind of bring his hands down to sort of twist them around and look at the blood that's like on the backs of his hands and on his fingers. And he can't really bring himself to move. And he just says again, I didn't mean to. I'm so sorry.
I think at this point, Tove just sort of like slowly, like her grip on Ari just like loosens, and she sort of like struggles to to her feet. It takes her a moment to sort of like pick herself up, and she's like, and until she's just sort of like standing, and she takes a step forward towards Narcellus, and she still just sort of has this look. It's not even fear. It's just it's confusion, almost, I think, in the same vein of like the confusion that she can see in his eyes, and she just she reaches forward and she places her hands on his arms if he'll let her. And she says
he'll let her.
Yeah, and she just sort of says softly, just like low enough that probably nobody else can really hear unless they're like right next to them. And she's like, it's okay. You're alive, and so it's okay. It's okay.
Listen, you weren't you. You weren't as far as I'm aware from you're right. You weren't in control. That's what you said, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not your fault.
Narcellus is going to raise both of his hands up, palm upward, and kind of look at them. And he's going to turn very slowly, sort of half circle back, and just look at Resh over the back of his shoulder with this like half glare.
Resh has been standing very still behind him, with this look of this very strange look on his face, as he's not really one for showing emotion. And as you turn and look at him, Narcellus, the really first glimpse you kind of get is he looks confused in a sense of what happened, yet there's also something deeper there, akin to guilt, or maybe regret, as he looks down at you and takes in a deep breath as he tries to find the words to say, and says, I'm so sorry, Ashevase. I had no idea this would. He kind of seems at a loss.
And he'll shake his head and kind of turn back toward the party and just say, this is the second time today I've hurt all of you. And kind of looking between Ari and Toe, he'll say, is there anything that I can do?
And Ari will quickly speak up and say, Nashazi, this was not your fault. You weren't in control of yourself. Really, he's, kind of like holding at his side. He's bleeding fairly badly at this point, but doesn't seem to really mind, as his attention is solely on Narcellis, as he'll say. Even the first instance you're speaking of was not done with malicious intent. You've done what you can to keep us safe, and now this is the work of something very powerful that is what hurt us, not you.
And at that, he'll just kind of like lean back on his heels and kind of straighten himself up, and his face will become entirely unreadable as he calls on earlier memories to try to steel himself up and put on a sort of mask. And he'll just say, if you all are comfortable with me continuing on, we should probably get out of here. And he'll reach up after a minute. His hand will kind of clasp over the area over his upper elbow on his right side, and he'll kind of rub at it really awkwardly and just kind of teeter from side to side and say, I'd rather not stay down here any longer than I have to. Did I die?
Ari is very hesitant to answer that, as you see he kind of shifts uncomfortably from foot to foot, as he'll say, I don't know. I did try to cast Lay on Hands once the logo was off of you, but it didn't seem to help, and you seemed rather still.
And he'll just like breathe in very deeply, and like he's very sore, like all over, and kind of just turns back towards the big crystal where the cloaker's body is and just kind of looks at it for a minute. He's very obviously looking past Resh. He just does not want to look at this man at the moment. But puts his head down and he's just like, well, if it's alright with everyone, I would rather not lead from here on out.
He kind of squints off into the distance where he sees the light and is like, there's like, I don't know, something lit up down there. I don't know.
You want to go exploring?
You're not archaeological experts, but you get the sense that these buildings are just far predate anything that you have seen before. Even like back up on the surface, it seems the building style is not like anything you've seen from your homes or from where you've traveled to. Everything is in absolute ruin, far more than you might expect, even though it's, from what you can tell, should be fine from the elements down here in the Underdark where there's not seasons or weather. Yet it looks like it's been weathered by time. Which seems a little peculiar.
And he'll turn to look at Resh at first, and he'll say, I don't know, what do you think? 2,000-3,000 years old?
Perhaps, if not more. And the rest of you will immediately find that very odd, as from what you know, from what all of you know, the world is only around 1,000 years old.
Oh.
And shake his head, and he'll say, oh, I knew the education on the surface was bad, but I never imagined it would be that bad.
She immediately, puffs her cheeks out at him with a frown.
What do you mean, Norshellis?
And he'll kind of turn over towards Rush for a moment and kind of give him this look and say, unfortunately, I am only proficient in what I know with books, but from what I can tell you, the Underdark itself is... I don't know, I think the city of Mithranbe, correct me, Resh, if I'm wrong, goes back 10,000 years?
I believe so.
Is this anima?
Yeah. Yeah, it is an anima crystal.
Okay, it's very large. He kind of taps
Yeah.
it with his foot. And he's like, "Well, at least the anima crystal here seems to have survived." As he's looking at it around.
And Norshellis is going to reach into his bag, actually, while this happens. And he's going to walk over and he's going to give 2 of his healing potions. One each to Ari and Toph.
They're just normal healing potions. Okay. And Ari will take the one handed to him with a grateful nod to Norshellis and a small smile as he says, thank you. And he will take it. I think that was 2d4. Let's see, 4 plus, so he gets 6. That's 21 total.
And Toph will, say, you didn't have to do this, but thank you.
Well, I kind of caused you to be in pain, so I think I should do it.
As we all start to, head out, Taffy's actually going to look on the ground. Are there any loose anima shards, tiny little ones on the floor that he could pick up?
Okay, so as you reach down to grab these shards, which are maybe small enough to fit in the palm of your hand, you see next to them that there is a piece of a very flat rock next to them, and it's really nothing important at first. But as you look at it, you realize that there appears to be a sort of pattern of engravings in the stone.
Oh, can I take it with me? Or is it like part of a bigger, like buried under something?
No, as you grab it, it is just a very small rock, probably about as big as your hand. Bringing it up closer to your face to examine it, you see the engravings remind you of perhaps the same sort of pattern of writing, like a sort of written language, but it is no language that you are aware of. As you pull for one of the ammo shards, you attempt to yank it free, but you don't seem quite strong enough to do so. But in that exact moment, as you attempt to pull it free,
Oops.
you all begin to feel the ground begin to shake.
I immediately let go.
Even as you let go, the ground continues to shake and tremble, and you see, rocks begin to fall on all sides of you guys, and cracks quickly forming. And before you know it, the ground beneath your feet cracks and gives way as all of you find yourself falling.
No!
Narcellus is going to grab onto Resh for dear life and just scream.
Panic cat noises. Listen, I was a shiny thing and I wanted it.
Ivari's holding on to Nibbles for dear life, protecting him from the impact.
Ark is gonna grab whoever's closest and
start flying.
that's Tove. Yeah. Yeah.
Tove.
Yeah. Tove is closest, so
And even as you attempt to spread your wings, there is a lot of falling debris to the point that it is very hard for you to do so. So you find yourself just kind of continuing to tumble down with everything else. And at this point, I need you all to please make dexterity saving throws for me.
Jeez.
Yay!
Yay.
Yay!
Wait, I picked Constitution. Let me refresh.
You're good.
Ooh. Get them 20s. We're all doing. Oh man, look at this.
Oh, that's a 20.
Okay.
Jesus.
God
Nobody's going to land on Rush.
Two
So.
nat 20.
Land on top of Resh.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
Oh.
Oh no.
Nice. You know what? Arca protected Tove.
See, there you go. Exactly.
Tove appreciates that, as she only has 18 hit points.
Yeah.
Alright, so let's see. There's Narcellus. Happy. Oh, right. I'm missing Yulia, but she's not here. Okay, let's see. Okay, Renarian, your dexterity sucks.
Is this like a group dex save?
Oh, maybe.
Maybe.
Just kind of gotta roll everyone here.
Okay, maybe not a group dex save.
As we watch the dexterity saves start to tank. Wow.
I'll keep my natural 20. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's see. Okay. So yeah, as you all fall, it feels like you're falling for a fairly long time. Kind of being hit with debris on your way down as you go. And you all do your best to kind of like shield yourselves from taking like a blow to the face or anything that might be too terribly damaging to you. And the further you fall, you realize the hotter and warmer the temperature is beginning to feel.
That's not good.
Oh.
And as you all finally hit a solid surface, you are all going to take 4 bludgeoning damage. That's all you take.
Okay.
That's fine.
The cavern you are in is illuminated by what appears at first to be a large, rounded sphere of rock crusted in crystals of pink color. However, the supposed rock shifts and shudders as you see 8 spindly legs begin to uncurl from it,
No.
with each leg probably well larger than any of you at the moment.
Fee, I hate you. I hate you so much.
And as the form shifts and rises, you see whatever this thing is has weapons embedded into its hide, and you see many fresh cuts and scrapes now dotting its back as well, with fresh blood dripping down it. And where you might expect to see a head with 8 eyes staring you all down, you instead see the upper half of a drow attached to a spider body.
Oh god.
Hi.
She
okay. It's also fine.
Yeah, she has very dark black skin and stark white hair falling to around her shoulders. So I will take you all over to this other page. You see
she's very big.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
You see she's dressed in an outfit of kind of a spiderweb design over purple cloth, and iron vambraces over her arms. And you can notice right away that she has multiple fresh cuts covering her now, thanks to the rock fall that preceded you all down into this cavern. And she reaches behind her to pull free a sword out of herself as she looks down at you all with this wicked grin, as you hear her say, "Oh, fresh food."
Wait, no. Friend, we're friend. So, what's the word for friend in Drow?
Why are you so big? Why are you so...
God, I hate this place. No offense, but God, I hate this place.
Fuck the Underdark.
So, Norcellis, looking up this thing, who then proceeds to call him food. This is his worst nightmare. This is his literal worst nightmare. There's been so many nightmares today.
This is the worst one.
Like, turning over as I'm assuming he's, landed, and he's got, his legs stretched out in front of him, and he's, leaning back on his hands. He sputters, and just starts crawling backwards on his hands, and he just utters this Resh!
Resh!
You'll see Resh quickly shaking off his daze, dashes to the front of the group with his daggers drawn. Kind of taking a very defensive stance between Norcellis and the Drider, as he'll look up at it and say, "We are not food." And the Drider just kind of looks down at him and giggles as she says, "Oh, no, it's been so long since I've had visitors, but I think all of you will make a very nice meal. I am so hungry."
I don't have any meat on my bones.
I got rations. Do you want rations?
If you picking my teeth with your bones, it will not be very enjoyable.
And as she says all of this, she just shakes her head and says, "Oh, don't worry, you look like you have plenty of meat to spare."
Tieflings taste like ash and fire. It'll burn going down. Yeah.
Can Narcellus attempt to reason with it?
What would you like to say?
He's going to look up at her and like grabbing onto the stalagmite beside him, just kind of shake, like his legs are shaking, like he's like shakily standing on both of his legs, kind of leaning forward, and put both of his hands out. He's gonna say, "Look, couple things. One, we're just trying to get to Mithranbe. We just want to go to the city, and also, you look like you've pissed off a very particular goddess." And he'll raise his right hand up, which has the crystal embedded in it, the purple glow, and he'll say, "Killing us might just make you something even worse. Who knows?"
It gets worse.
It gets worse.
Shut up, you're boring.
And the Drider gives a hiss as she seems to recoil away almost from Marcellus, despite being this gargantuan thing compared to you all. And he glares down at him as he'll say, "Falsharess. Yes, I did once make a mistake, which has led me to this rather unforgiving form. For me to want to piss her off again."
Yeah, exactly. And you know, if you were to just not eat us, I'm sure that the Corvalshares would be more than merciful in this instance. After all, I'm pretty sure, and he'll turn his hand around, and he's absolutely lying through his teeth. He doesn't know. He's like, she might even be listening right now.
Well, even if she is, and the Drider will suddenly lurch forward to the very edge of the platform, where she's now probably only about 5 or 10 feet away from you and Resh. And she doesn't have her sword raised, but she's just kind of crawled forward, grabbing the edge of this cliff as she glares at you with, bright red eyes. And she'll say, "Even if she is, I know she would not forgive the transgression I have made against her. No, I made a mistake out of love. A wound left upon me."
You don't say. He'll think about that for a minute. I'm sorry, I'm trying to work here. How do we not have everybody die? Okay, so he'll kind of walk forward. He's pissing himself, okay? But he's going to kind of reach up and place his hand on Resh's arm, and his claws dig into the skin a little. But he's using him as I need help standing up so I don't faint. And he looks at her while she's crawling onto the platform, and he'll say, "We know something about that kind of pain. At least I do. My brother was killed in the name of the Corvalshares, and I suppose it was my mistake for not doing what I could at the time to try and save him in some way. And that is something that, quite like yourself, is a monstrosity that I have to live with every day. And now, imagine what it's like having her with you 24/7. And he just sort of turns towards the rest of the party, and he's like, "And besides, we all hate Lolth here, don't we, guys?"
Yeah, absolutely. Just a total.
Yeah.
Yes, Correct.
The worst. Literally the worst.
Quite literally.
The absolute worst. And I bet that you haven't gotten, to go into the city in quite some time, and there must be someone in Mithranve that you still care about, family maybe, something. I mean, if that's where you're from, I mean, it could be Ina Esherai, I don't know. But what I'm saying is that we are very capable messengers. And since you did have this happen in the name of love, I'm sure that you would be willing to allow us to carry your wound for you to those who might otherwise not know of this.
And as you speak and say all of this, Marcella, she's very, captivated by you. Like, her eyes are glued onto you as you speak. And her hardened gaze kind of turns to something a little softer as you continue, and finally she lets go of the sword as it clatters into the ground, and she'll say, "You do so go to Mithranve if you find yourself near the Doret Manor, if he's even still there, my dear Solvatar. However, the lovable idiot he was, I never could admit the depth of my feelings for him. Do tell him Anna sends her love."
And we will take this message personally. So I happen to be a student of the wizard Balar of House Doret. I will take this to Solvatar? Is that what you said?
Solvatar Doret, yes, he was the son of the previous Vouchers.
Also, side note, guys, I have no idea what I'm doing.
It's working though.
It's working. Just keep going with it.
And I will make sure that he understands the depth of your love in comparison to what pain that I felt when I lost the person who meant the most to me.
She'll stare at you for a very long moment before just giving this quiet little huff of breath as you see her body will slowly lower down from the platform, down into the darkness far below the cliff.
Oh my god.
Terrifying.
Was this a fight?
It was gonna be, yeah.
Oh god.
Holy.
Yeah, just Tabby's kind of slurp to the ground, like.
Narcellus will very slowly retract his claws from Resh, go over to the stalagmite next to him, and just sort of grab it like he's going to vomit, but he doesn't quite. But his whole body is just tremoring.
Oh, you did good, kid. You made it work.
I don't like traitors!
Resh, who was kind of standing there, just staring after where she went, quickly, puts his daggers away and, hurries over to Narcellus' side as he'll kind of gently place a hand on his shoulder as he'll say, "You did very well, Narcellus."
Can we get the fuck out of here?
So foul
please.
of you to ask. Please.
Imran, near the back of the group, who's probably been just sitting on his ass the entire time because he was far too afraid to get up, just says, please, let's go. I would like to leave.
Oh, I'm gonna vomit my kidneys, my stomach, everything's coming out. Oh.
Yeah, let's go. Let's go. As Imran quickly scrambles up onto his feet. Let's get the hell out of here.
How do we get back up
Go ahead.
there?
He'll kind of take a look around and looks back up towards the ceiling, which is very, very far above you guys at this point. He'll say, well, the good news is that we're probably back at the lower dark if we head this direction, as he points, like, kind of directly behind, like, opposite of where the Drider had been. Head in this direction should take us over towards a certain area of the lower dark, and then that should have us pop right up into Mithranve. Honestly, I don't really know where we are, but if we just start this is the only way we can go. We'll figure it out. We'll get there.
Yeah.
I think it's just better we go rather than stay around a Drider's den.
No. We should go. Just as long as we don't fall through like another, spontaneous hole in the floor. Can we just kind of avoid that going forward, maybe?
Yeah, how about we just don't touch weird crystals anymore, Taffy?
Yeah.
Oh. Oh. He doesn't have any. He didn't have a defense.
Something curiosity and cats.
Yeah.
So we'll just kind of pat him on the back, be like, "It's okay. One of us would have done it if it wasn't you."
I'm glad I can be the problem.
And then Imran will also say, I don't understand how that dragon was so big. That was terrifying.
Did you see all the crystals that were stuck in her back?
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, I kind of felt bad for her. I know what that's like.
Yeah.
Are they normally not that big?
I don't want to think about it. I don't want to think about it, Taffy.
Oh.
I don't want to be a giant draw.
I really want to get out of here. Can we please leave?
Out of here, maybe find somewhere safe where we can just like lay down for a little while and pretend all of this was a horrible dream.
And I never have to think about the Underdark again.
No joke.
Yeah, really.
I get it now. I get the way you are, Nursha.
Switching maps real quick.
No, that is the right size. No. Leave them.
Oh.
Yeah, sorry. Sorry. Okay, so yes, you all dust yourselves off, take off the feeling of dread of seeing a giant crystallized Drider appear and then slowly disappear before you as Imran leads the way down really the only path available to you unless you feel like scaling down sheer cliff faces into the deep darkness below where she went, which I don't think anyone would.
Yeah, I think I'm good.
And as you go, the temperature only seems to keep getting hotter. As you continue on a path that winds its way through spider webs and stalagmites and everything that tries to block your path, but eventually make it out into a rather clear and open area. As you free yourself finally from the Drider's web, the heat is beginning to feel nearly unbearable in this particular cavern you find yourselves in. If you want to switch a moment. The ground here is smooth, and the area is lit by the boiling lava flowing through crevices that cut through the ground before you guys. A stone bridge stands before you, allowing access to the other side of the flowing lava river. Small clusters of crystals glow here as well, yellow and pink in color, and you see purple ones near the far end of the cavern from where you currently are. To your right, there's a huge discarded bell that sits atop a small rise where the lava flows down from, black in color and in surprisingly good shape despite the very obvious signs of age, such as many cracks along the sides and a layer of rust that sits over most of it. There's odd piles of debris here and there of what looks to be wood and metal, but most of it is charred or rusted beyond recognition.
So, Imran?
Yeah.
Where the fuck are we?
And he'll kind of look around, trying to get a bearing of his surroundings.
Oh, for the love of Yaldabast, if we are lost, I will lose it.
No, we're not lost. As he carefully, steps over what appears to be a half-buried skeleton in the ground beside you guys. That, looking at it, you see it's almost maybe very fish-like in nature, despite being down here in the Underdark, surrounded by lava. And Imran kind of looks around and says, this isn't, I think we're in the area of the lower dark at the moment. I really haven't been in this area before, mostly because it's usually infested with Driders and just lava. If I have our bearings right, based on where we just were before we fell, if we head in this direction, as he points across the bridge, if we head that way, we should get back on a path that'll lead us up to the Middle Dark and up into Mithrande.
You want us to get on the rusty hell bridge over the boiling lava?
It's survived this long. It's fine. Sure.
I would suggest we go one at a time.
You suggest what?
We go one at a time over the bridge.
That's fine. I'll go first. And Imran, sure enough, will head over towards the bridge, which, as he gets closer to it, appears to be made of a mixture of stone and very rusted metal. And he will just slowly start to walk across it.
Oh, there goes a fried drought.
Alright. Quick question. Is this thing glowing off in the distance?
Yes, so you see across a deep crevice of lava on a cliff about as tall as the one you guys are on, there's an odd machine. It's really the best way to describe it. It is a hunk of metal that, even from the distance you're seeing, there are faint blue glowing lines upon it. And from what you can tell at this distance, it seems to be letting out this cloud of greenish yellow air. Or mist, I guess I should say.
Oh. So Taffy points over that and he's like, the heck is that?
And Narcellus will kind of follow that finger, follow where he's pointing, and he'll just sort of tilt his head suddenly, and he's like, Rush, what is that? I've never seen anything like that before.
Rush will kind of look over to where it is, and by this point, Imran is far across the bridge away from you all, so he's not hearing any of this conversation. But Resh will say, as he narrows his eyes, I have no idea. I've never seen something like that before.
Hey, Taffy.
Uh-huh.
I kind of want to go poke it.
I really want to go poke it.
Let's go poke it.
Let's go poke it. He's gonna go.
We can go even further into this hell at this point. I feel like we just reached the bottom level.
Marcellus is gonna go up over the bridge.
Yeah, Taffy's gonna follow him. As they're going across, he's like, Man, it's like I didn't know you guys had like cool. That looks kind of like some like the kind of the machine. Like, all right, I guess let me ask before I make an ass of myself. Does this look any kind of like similar to like the machines of a Ket?
No. I mean,
Oh, okay.
It bears resemblance in that it's made of metal and it has like vents on it, which are things you've seen on like airships before. But otherwise, it really holds no other similarities.
Okay. So as they're walking up to, he's like, it's got like some similarities to sort of these things. I really like all the technology kind of stuff. It's like, look at that thing. I don't know you guys had stuff like that down here.
I was not aware either. As Resh finally catches up to you guys, and
Yeah, as far as I know, Drow. I mean, we have the barrier in Mithranve, which you guys will get to see that pretty soon. That's really cool. I'll have to tell you why it's called what it's called later, but we don't have things like that. I mean, I really want to get closer to it.
Come on. And so at this point, Taffy pulls up his not his hood, but his face covering, his mouth covering that covers up his mouth and his nose, just in case. Can you see the air getting pumped out of this thing?
yeah, you can definitely clearly see that one of the vents is like leaking out or just pushing out like a greenish yellow mist or smoke.
So Taffy's like, all right, how do you think we should approach this?
And here, really quick, while you guys are doing that, for the rest of you, as you cross over the bridge, you see there's a lot more kind of scattered ruins in that room about here in this very flat area. Kind of closest to the bridge appears to be the rubble and debris of what might have been a statue at one point. As you see, there's like an arm here and a leg there of this statue that once stood proudly. And further off, towards the left side of the cavern, if you keep looking that way, you catch a glimpse of what appears to be another statue in much better shape, in the shape of a serpent, kind of overlooking an area that dips further down than where you are, so you can't quite see what might be sitting over there from your current location. Otherwise, there's crystals strewn about the cavern, or you guys are more than welcome to follow Taffy, Norfellis, and Rush to go check out the other thing.
But
I was just gonna say, like, is there like any sort of like what looks like at least like a decently manageable path like down to that sort of like snake statue ruins?
Yeah, area? There is some. Yeah, you do see crossing a thin stream of magma. There is an area that slopes downward towards it. It'll just bring you very close to the lava, so it is just very, very hot. But it is a safe enough path to walk on.
Okay. I think Tove is going to make her way down there, and she'll sort of turn to Yavari and say, those ruins over there look really interesting. Do you want to go check them out?
Yavari kind of just draws her attention back from like the broken statue, and she quietly wonders if this statue relates to what they had saw just a couple of minutes before turning to Tove and going, I mean, I think it would be beneficial if we explored the entire cavern. I'll join you.
And Tove will just sort of nod and say it seems like it might be some sort of religious symbol. I mean, I would think it is, but won't know until we get a closer look.
I agree. I think we should go down there and be prepared if there's any more surprises like the Underdark usually supplies.
And Tove will kind of like turn her head towards the rest of the group that's kind of standing there and just say, anybody want to come with us?
Ari will nod and go over to join her and say, yes, of course. Yelkish, looking a little torn, looking back towards like Chalice and the others, and looking over to Ari. He'll kind of stand there for a long moment before he says, yeah, I'll stick with you, Runar. He like hurries after him. And Imran will say, I'm good, I'll wait here for you guys to finish up. As you all just go. Bayless taking y'all over there.
Hey.
While we're walking down there, Yavari will scoop Nibbles out of her hood and just sort of plop him on to the princess's shoulder. Be like, look, you look like you need some company. Here you go. You look a little shaken.
Yelkish will give her a small smile as she scratches Nibbles on the head. So as you all make your way down towards that, Arca, I'm guessing you're kind of going with the other three over there?
Yeah.
Gonna touch the dangerous machine.
Yeah, so you all make your way up and over another very old, cracked, rusted bridge, and you make your way onto a platform that, in the center of it, you see the ground was at one point laid with rather intricate stonework, but at this point now it's been cracked and kind of grown over with the rock and kind of lava that's been running through this place. And as you get closer to this machine, you see this thing is incredibly large. At a distance it seemed rather manageable, but walking up on it now, it stands at nearly, maybe about 10 feet tall at its highest point and nearly 15 feet wide. And as you get closer now, you can hear there is a very quiet and steady humming noise.
Interesting.
Can Narshellus feel anything coming from it? Is there anima coming from it? Is it magical? Is it not magical? Is it just like puff and smoke?
Make an Arcana check for it. Ooh, okay. So, you approach the machine, and you see there's these glowing, what could really only be best described as maybe glowing blue glyphs that are inscribed upon the metal itself. And as you approach, you kind of look it over, you try to sense into the anima around you, and you kind of get the feeling for the flow of anima in this area, and being as sensitive to it as you are, you can tell that the machine appears to be drawing on the natural anima of the environment. And you can even see, looking very carefully at the vents, there appears to be very faint, like specks of light going into this machine one way, and then something appears to be happening inside of it, and then it's letting out anima, but it's a completely different element.
So Narcellus will kind of hover his hands like over the machine for a moment, and he'll get this perplexed, very confused look on his face. And pulling his hands back, he'll turn to Arca and Taffy and Resh, and he'll say, So, it's definitely doing something to the anima. It's just, how do I describe it? It's like, it's putting anima inside. Can you tell what anima element is going in?
You can't really tell what's going in, but you can tell what's coming out appears to be aspected towards wind.
Okay, so I say there's this one thing that's going in. This one element is going in that I can't pinpoint, but wind, air is coming out the other side. It's what's the word? Taffy, what is the word when it changes something to something else? It's changing it. It's
transmuting.
Yes, it's converting it. It's transmuting it. Yes.
Interesting, but why wind? He gets up close to it and starts like looking around for maybe if there's maybe like any panels or anything that he can mess with.
Go ahead and make a perception or investigation.
Oh, I think let's see here. Oh, okay. I am better at perception.
17. Yeah, as you look over this machine, you see, most of it's fairly flat and fairly well kept together, despite the obvious age and worn down appearance of everything else you found. This is in surprisingly good shape, with very little signs of rust upon it. You see that there are lines in the metal where maybe the metal will be able to come out to reveal a panel or something for you to work or to mess with, but nothing appears to open.
So he'll turn back and ask, "Is like, and so you've never seen anything like this down here before?"
No.
Do you know how old this might be?
No.
So the sorry.
Do me a favor.
Yeah.
At the risk of you melting your skin off, touch it. Is it hot?
So he'll put his paw up on it. And he kind of like baps it a couple times just to see if it like immediately catches him on fire. And like he puts his every time he puts his paw back on, he leaves it on there for just a few more seconds.
Thankfully, as you touch it, it's warm, but not unbearably hot.
It's a little toasty, but it's not. It's not melting my hand off. I wonder. You said this thing was converting wind, right?
Yeah, it's like pushing the air element out. I mean, I'm assuming that whatever it's pulling in must be in abundance down here, so maybe fire or earth, but I mean, letting air out here, I mean...
Well, if you think about it...
You and I must be thinking about the same thing.
You're thinking it's making it so that people can get, like us, can get as close as we can to this lava everywhere?
Yeah, I was thinking, like, it must be really hard to breathe down here for some people.
Yeah, this must be, this must allow people to... Man, but then, like... Someone then had to have built it for the express purpose to get down here, and then he kind of like, as he's walking around it, he kind of like notices the bell down in the crevice over here. And he's like, yeah, now that he's taken in his surroundings, not distracted by giant glowing thing, he's like, yeah, there's, now that I think about it, there's like a lot of structures. Someone, they must have had a reason to come down here. They had these structures over here. They had apparently a bell. He's looking around for like where that, like if there's a bell tower or something.
Can Narcellus look at the circle here and see if it looks recognizable?
Yeah. And then what's while you're checking that out, what's Arca up to at the moment? What's Arca thinking?
He is kind of like watching this investigation and kind of looking around at the rest of the architecture. And he's kind of like wondering, like, then did Drow build this like some long time ago before like they moved elsewhere?
Could be. If this is sufficiently old enough, here's your proof that the world is older than 1,000 years old.
Of course it is.
I'm just saying.
Listen, Taffy.
Yeah.
Can I ask you? Listen. Well, Tove's not here. Just me to you, okay?
Okay.
The guy teaching me, his name is Balar.
Balar. Okay.
Okay. He's 1,500 years old.
Okay, see, I wanted to ask if there were other Drow that were, like, really old.
My mother is 1,200 years old.
See, that's really cool. Not the fact that your mother is horrifying, but the fact that, like, people are that old. That's like, this Balor guy, he didn't happen to be where we're going, do you think?
Miss Ronde, yeah, he's the wizard for House Duret.
I think we could, do you happen to know him? I mean, he taught you and everything, right?
He's been teaching me, well, not been, I mean, he did teach me how to cast, like, prestidigitation and firebolt and how my anima works and all that, but I mean, really, Resh is probably the one who could get you in to talk to him, since Resh is the one who's made it to Ilharis's daughter.
He kind of leans over and looks at Resh. I don't know if Resh was listening in.
Resh is very much not paying attention to the conversation, as he appears to be kind of looking down at the circular stones on the floor with his hands folded behind his back and his eyebrows creased very deeply.
It's like...
He doesn't even respond to you guys.
Resh! So, do you think there's any chance of you getting me and Taffy here into House Duret when we're in Mithrambe? Maybe we can, like, bypass Hilarion and Ashe and just kind of go piddle around with Balar for a few minutes?
Unfortunately, I see meeting the Hilarion Holly is impossible to avoid, though I suppose if you are keen on keeping the Drider's wish, we would have to go to the Dilret Manor regardless.
I mean, I wasn't really planning on it, but I guess so. He'll turn back toward Taffy like, I mean, hey, you know what? Between you and me, that guy, Balar, still thinks that I'm like 10 learning how to cast prestidigitation, so it really shouldn't be that big of a problem.
Yeah, I don't want to impose but if it's not too much of a problem, I'd like to talk to this guy.
Oh, he's gonna want to run all kinds of tests on you. It's gonna be so fun.
Oh!
Test?
You too, probably, Arca. I mean, but Tabaxi, you're just really rare, you know?
I mean, listen, if that's the price of admission, yeah, they're not dangerous, right?
Well, you see, Mithranpe has, like, this, and he's getting, like, really, really into this, like, he's very interested in this topic, and Mithranpe has this whole big barrier, like, all the way around it, and apparently Balar is the one who actually constructed the barrier in order to...
Oh yeah. Okay. So is it magical or is it like technology based?
Oh, it's completely magical. It's based on the actual I forget what it's based off of, but it's really cool and it's really magical and
As I'm sorry to cut you off. As Nershellus continues to ramble on about Mithranve and the barrier surrounding the city, our other group across the chasm.
Yeah, it's yeah, we're gonna get into the
yeah.
Across the cavern. Even though.
Oh, and by the way, just as a reminder, since this kind of exists as like as a short-ish rest, would we be allowed to burn our hit dice to heal?
Yeah, absolutely. If you'd like to take the time to do that, that's fine.
Okay, just throwing it out there for those who are a little low on the HP.
On death's door.
Yeah.
Yeah. So across the cavern with the other small group, you go down the slope, getting dangerously close to the lava river, as you make your way across the flat rock that is at least safe for you to traverse upon. And you see that this large open space that's kind of a dip down in the rock, you see the snake statue appears to be overlooking an area that you're unsure of its purpose. Directly beneath the snake, you see there is a large statue towering above you guys at, easily almost 20 feet in height. It's another winged statue, very similar to the ones you had seen earlier, but in far better condition. I mean, this thing is nearly completely fine with only very small signs of wear. Before it sits what used to be a stone table that has been cracked in half, and what appears to be an old battle axe sits broken now upon the table.
Are there any inscriptions on the statue? Or any words?
Make a perception check for me.
Perception check.
Well, nice. So, look around the base of the statue, kind of over the whole thing, and as the both of you, actually, Tove, if you can make me a perception check as well, if you're looking at the statue.
Yeah, she's looking at the statue.
Okay. Okay. So as you're both kind of looking over the statue and looking up at this figure before you, Tove, earlier, you kind of thought that some of the winged statues reminded you of Chris, and as you look upon this one now, and recalling what you know of Chris' usual facade that people will sculpt and paint her as, you see this statue is definitely either masculine or androgynous, whereas Chris is always defined as a woman. This one has heavy plate armor that they're wearing with a broadsword held between their hands that's kind of stuck into the ground, and long straight hair flowing down from its back. You see upon their chest, engraved in the stone, appears to be the symbol of the sun. A symbol both of you actually are very familiar with, Tove because of your religious background, Yavari because of your time in Idfu, as being the symbol usually representing the Order of Seven, typically also referring to Sophis. And as you look around the statue's base, you do see there's a rectangle, kind of flat spot at the very foot of it. And you do see there are engravings upon it, though they are worn. But the language, looking it over, is not one either of you recognize.
I think Tove sort of like, peers down at the little like engraved plate, and she sort of like crouches down and runs her fingers over the engravings, sort of looks up at Ivari and says, what do you make of all of this?
Yavari walks up beside Tove and bends down to her level, also brushing her hand against the worn engravings. And she is going to cast Comprehend Languages, if that is okay. Any spoken language or any written language that you can see. I'm not sure if that applies here or not. You must be touching the surface on which the words are written.
Yeah, absolutely. You take a moment to focus your anima and as you try to read the language, and even though you don't know what language this is, you are able to comprehend it as you look, and you read it as reading the one God Genesis.
I'm gonna look over to Tove and tell her what I can comprehend from what I just drew a blank. I'm sorry, my brain said nope. We're not working anymore. Restart. Yavari's gonna look at Tove and tell her about the translation that she was able to pull, or at least somewhat of a translation. And while she's not overly familiar with like the Seven and all that good stuff, she does know who or what Sophis is. Sophis.
Yeah.
But she's not quite sure what to make of it because she doesn't have that kind of religious connection. So she's kind of gauging Poe's reaction.
As Yavari sort of like translates, I guess, what is written on the stone, Tove's brow sort of creases as she just sort of like mouths the word to herself, like words to herself, like the one true God Genesis. And she sort of looks over at Yavari and says, wait, Sophis is the one true, well, not really true God, but Sophis is the one God, but I've never heard of Genesis before.
Could it be another one of their monikers, perhaps?
You mean like another name? I mean,
like another name for them?
Maybe. I mean, and Tove sort of stands up, brushing her hands on her tunic. I mean, if these really are the ancient ruins of some ancient city that apparently existed before the world was supposed to be around, then maybe they did have a different name for Sophis. I mean, but that doesn't make sense. I mean, we'd know that, wouldn't we? Or maybe the church would know, like, the Order of the Seven would know that, or... and she'll sort of look back over to where Ari is standing, with Nilkish, and sort of wave the two of them over, and just sort of relay the message again that Yavari read to her, and she'll just sort of look quizzically at Runarian and say, "Does that name ring a bell? Genesis?"
Runarian kind of mulls it over for a long moment as he kind of like mentally flips through all of his religious information tucked away in his brain, and he'll eventually say, no, I've never heard that name used before. Honestly, I'm still trying to wrap my mind around this whole the world is older than 1,000 years thing, and I mean, I suppose it's possible that is what... I mean, if this is some ancient civilization, I suppose it's possible that they might have just had another name for service. I mean, that sun symbol, he nods to it, certainly is the one that we use nowadays.
Yavari is gonna look above the statue to where the serpent is, and kind of look along this path here, wondering if there's something more to this like little cavern, this like little ruined area. But for now, she just looks at the snake, goes, "And what about that? I'm not familiar, but is there a god or Genesis or whoever affiliated with snakes of any kind?"
Tova shakes her head and says, I don't know.
Runarian will also shake his head, looking rather clueless as he says it. No, I've never heard of one being associated with snakes. I mean, there's... I shouldn't even say Bahamut, that's dragons, not even the same thing. I'm not sure. Nilkish also looks just as confused as the rest of you, and Yavari, as you look up towards the snake statue sitting upon the cliffside above you guys, you'll see there's actually another little sort of like stone plate with an inscription upon it in the same foreign language of what you saw at the other statue's feet. And that will read, as you look at it, as a reminder to the people of Imyan Falore, which I'll put in the chat so you have the spelling of all of that.
How do you say it one more time?
I put it in the chat for you on Roll20, but it's Imyan Falore.
Imyan Falore. Yavari definitely takes a note of that and looks at both Tove and Ari and asks if they have any clue what that means.
Ari shakes his head.
No, Tove follows suit, and it's like she's getting more and more confused by the minute.
Are their gazes, the statues, by the way, are their gazes like hitting the table directly, or are they like kind of looking off in the distance? I'm sure you said this before, I forgot.
I did not, but as you look at them and kind of follow where their gazes go, you see it seems like the serpent is more looking down at the other statue, whereas the other statue does appear to be looking down towards the table. And as you examine that, Ari kind of moves a little closer to the statue, wanting to look at like the inscriptions upon both of them. and he'll tilt his head slightly to one side as he says, this language certainly isn't anything I've seen before, but it almost bears a resemblance to very archaic Elvish. I've only read some few things of it that my father took from Ymir. But these are words I've still never heard of before. Genesis and Imyon Thalore? Never heard of an old Elvish civilization in the Underdark, that's for sure. Other than the Drow, of course.
This is getting more confusing than I thought it would be.
Tove sort of walks like forward to the table. Like other than the sort of like I guess the battle axe, is there anything like in particular that stands out? Other than the battle axe and it being, cracked in half.
No, that is everything that's on the table. It's just this battle axe, which, as you can see, is probably about twice as long as you are tall. Definitely not something you could easily wield.
No.
Really, the only other thing of note in this area appears to be a skeleton over near where one of the lava rivers kind of starts to sizzle into the ground to form a lot of the rock. You do see there's like a half-covered like skeleton of something fish-like and aquatic that's like half buried in the magma rock.
That looks interesting, but I'm already sweating so much.
We don't want you to burn.
It's like Pope's hair is like sticking to her forehead. It's great.
Yavari looks like she's having a good time. She's heat resistant.
That must be so nice.
Oh, it is.
It's totally fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
But Ari will kind of speak and say, why don't we go meet up with the others? We can fill them in and see maybe what they found out about that weird thing as well.
The weird thing.
Good idea. I think we should head back.
I agree. I don't think we can get any more from this area.
Likewise. So, then the rest of you will go to regroup with the rest of your party, who seem to have kind of made their way to the top side of the map. Back over towards where Enrin was awaiting their return. And then for you, Narchella, since you had kind of mentioned it before getting sucked into the conversation about Mithron Bay, as far as the circular stones on the ground, back over in that area, they bear faint resemblances to the one thing that comes to your mind was from back in Valvard when Taffy had been sharing with you guys the glyphs that No Land Security used, as well as the polymorph glyphs that you've seen around.
Oh
no. Like Philisera. It gives you kind of a familiar sense to something like that, like arcane glyphs, but you're not aware of what these would have been used for.
Well, as the rest of the party reapproaches, poor Taffy's ear is still being talked off as the boy's special interest has been tweaked. And they just come back to, and that's why they named the entire barrier after Faldvin, to keep him out.
Dang. I mean, that
Why
makes
is your dad
sense.
such a menace?
Runarian coming into this is like, they did what?
They did
Oh, yeah, like this whole barrier constructed around Mithranbe. Like, apparently there's a story that he went down into the Underdark and he killed the matron mother, and like that's what started the war, right? The whole Dark War thing. So anyway, they like constructed, like Balor constructed like, this entire barrier around the city. It's called the Coranial Barrier. It's just to keep him out.
This is really lovely.
No, but I'm interested.
No, I'm very interested too, but we just found some really cool stuff over there. That's confusing.
Yes,
we
did.
Sorry.
No, you're totally. But I mean, you can keep going if you want to.
No, what'd you find?
Well, there was this statue, and Yavari was able to read. Was it reading? I don't really know if it was reading. You could just know what the inscription said, and
inscription.
So Yavari steps forward and just makes a huge recap of what the language or what the inscriptions said, and also expressed her confusion about not understanding half of what was being said, but knowing that it's an important piece of information that hopefully they get to solve, because it is very confusing to see fish things in the middle of like a volcano.
After hearing that, Taffy's like, huh. And he pulls out the little rock he found with the inscription. It's like, this, like, does it look like any of this? As he hands it over to Yavari.
What looks like what?
This rock has an inscription on it. You were talking that you know.
Oh, right. Sorry about that. I got confused. Yavari looks over the text, and can she read that and see what it says?
Yeah, what little text is on here, it does match up to what you saw on the statues. It is apparently, like, from what you can see, it seems to be just kind of a corner of what might have been a larger stone tablet. You unfortunately can't really see any full words, as most of it's worn or broken off. You just kind of catch letters and like half words that don't really make any sense.
I can't make out any specific words or phrases. Looks like we're on our own with this one. So we have a better understanding of what it is and what we're looking for.
I gotcha. Well, whoever built your statue, I wonder if they built that. We found a machine that makes air. It's really cool.
Interesting.
Taffy's like, he's looking like he's expecting someone to get all so excited about it.
it's just there's so many puzzling things that are happening at one time.
It's like, man, this is kind of cool. Oh yeah, but I guess we should probably get to town.
Yes. Give me just a second, because now I have to find Drider.
We should be done after this description.
Here we go. Okay. Where are they? Okay. Yeah, so then you all... Sorry.
Bless you.
So yeah, Imran takes the lead again as you all continue down through the cavern and into another series of tunnels, and slowly you feel yourselves beginning to climb higher and higher through the Underdark from the lowest point that you are at and into the cooler temperatures, albeit still rather humid, Middle Dark. And you leave the lava behind, slowly replaced by mostly familiar fauna and flora of glowing mushrooms and glowing moss clinging to the walls. And soon enough, you come out through a rather steep incline through a tunnel and out through the gates of the inner city of Mithronde.
Oh.
Switch it. And it's going to be down at the very bottom of the map, Kathy. That's where you guys are.
Oh.
These maps are so pretty.
And before you all is a sprawling city far greater than anything any of you have seen before. It is towered over by glittering and glowing mushrooms that act as the city's main source of light, casting orange and violet rays of luminescence across the city structures. What you see before you upon emerging from the crevice is only the city center. If you look behind and around you, the sea of buildings seems to never cease, and a large, glittering shield of some sort of anima rests high above your heads, pulsating and moving as though made of living water. The city is massive. The size is the entirety of the Damavand range, in fact, and bustling with liveliness and merriment as the fate reigns over the night. It is the Night Court Feast, a course of several weeks meant to celebrate the reign of not Lolth, but another god over the city, which is made clear by the tabards and flags that are held or waved over the city proper, all of which have the same unfamiliar emblem emblazed upon their fabrics, a mask.
Whoa. We popped out right in the middle. That means this is right underneath the... Oh.
Yeah, you really did. And as you enter the city, you are met with an array of delights. The smell of every kind of food you could ever want, painted faces and dancing bodies that move with hurried, frenzied spurts of energy. You see Minotaur drinking alongside Drow and Dwarger, laughing merrily and raising their glasses, snorting through their nostrils and banging their hooves on the floor. Above you are massive trapeze sets and long, billowing curtains where acrobats twirl, fall, and swing their way across the whole expanse of the city, painted with glowing pigment that makes their bodies sparkle like stars. Everyone around you wears a golden mask, laughing raucously as bits of glitter and magic streamers seem to fall from the sky at random, never ending, and disappearing the moment they hit the ground. As you look up, you see the gathering of violet lights, first a few, then a dozen, then hundreds of thousands, clinging to one another to form a picture in the sky, one that moves, claws, and snarls as its great jaws form the mouth and fangs of a dragon, wings spread far and wide that circles what can only be described as the tallest and most impressive building in the city, something that resembles a group of clustered castles in the center of Mithronde, curling up its 1,000-feet-high spires and snarling at the denizens before bursts into a shower of lights with a final dying roar.
Oh, this place is cool.
Alright.
It's really cool.
And that is where we will leave off this session for the night, as you all have finally made your way to Mithronde, the largest travel city in the Underdark.